of the Florentine, Dante, a man who, adrift in the middle of his life's great journey, found it is a saga spun in 3 grand acts, a descent into the fathomless abyss of hell. And Dante, overwhelmed by the sheer terror of the place, collapsed into a faint. The first circle, Limbo, the abode of virtuous pagans. Dante awoke to the sound of a thunderclap, roused by his guide. They had crossed the river and now stood on the brink of the abyss proper, the first of the 9 circles of hell. This circle was known as Limbo, a testament to the peak of human reason. Yet it was shadowed by a profound and inescapable melancholy. Eventually, Virgil led Dante away from the tranquil light of the citadel and back into the trance. Was the wise king of Crete, who became a judge of the dead in Hades. But here, Dante reimagines him as a snarling, serpentine demon. He sat at the threshold, examining the sins of each soul that came before him. After hearing their confession, he would deliver their sentence in a hideous fashion, by wrapping his long, coiling tail around himself. The number of coils indicated the circle to which the soul was condemned. Minos snarled at Dante, warning him not to trust his living flesh in this domain. But once again, Virgil's powerful words, invoking the divine will behind their journey, silenced the beast. They passed him and entered the second circle. Here there was no light at all, only a place mute of all light, which bellowed like the sea in a tempest. A ceaseless, infernal hurricane raged, a symbol of the untamed passions to which these sinners had succumbed in life. Caught in this violent, omnidirectional wind, he did not recognize the shade, but the soul, whose name was Ciacco, or the Hog, recognized him from their shared home of Florence. Ciacco, in a moment of clarity, delivered the first of many political prophecies that Dante would receive on his journey. He foretold the coming civil strife within Florence, the expulsion of Dante's own political party, aided by the papacy in Rome. After delivering his grim prediction, Ciacco asking Dante as a living man. They granted Virgil passage, but on one cruel condition, that he may never return to his own circle in Limbo. Virgil, agreeing to the terms, attempted to warning him of Medusa's petrifying gaze. Just as all seemed lost, a great tumult arose from across the swamp of Styx. A figure, walking upon the water as if on dry land, approached, waving away the foul air before him. It was an angelic messenger, sent from heaven. The Furies and fallen angels fled in terror before his divine presence. The angel, with oracles, so terrible they had to rest behind one of the tombs. Here, Virgil took the time to explain the structure of lower hell. The next 3 circles, he said, would punish sins of malice, violence, and fraud. The 7th circle, the 3 rings of violence. To enter the 7th circle, they had to pass through a narrow passage of broken rocks, guarded by the of boiling blood, the Phlegethon. Submerged in its fiery depths were those who had committed acts of violence against others, tyrants, murderers, and warmongers. The depth of their submersion was proportional to the severity of their crimes. Great conquerors like Alexander the Great were submerged up to their eyebrows, while lesser murderers waded only to their waists. Patrolling the banks of the river was a troop of centaurs, armed between their outward appearance of holiness and their inner reality of sin. Ditch 7. Thieves. This ditch was a pit full of writhing, monstrous reptiles, snakes and lizards of every horrific kind. The naked souls of thieves ran through this pit in terror, their hands bound behind their backs by serpents. When a snake bit a sinner, the soul would burst into flames, turn to ash, and then painfully resurrect like a profane phoenix. Dante witnessed an even more disturbing process. A 6-legged serpent bit a man, and the two began to merge and mutate, their forms blending until they had transformed into a single, monstrous creature. Another snake bit a soul, and the two swapped places, the man becoming a snake and the snake becoming a man. In life, they had stolen the substance of others. In death, their very identities and forms were perpetually stolen from them. Dante met the thief Vanni Fucci, who delivered a dark prophecy and then cursed God, for which he was immediately attacked by snakes. Ditch 8. Fraudulent counselors. Here, those who used their intelligence and position to advise others to engage in fraud slowly healing, only to be whole again by the time they reached the demon, who would tear them apart once more. Dante saw bodies split in two, decapitated, and with their entrails dragging, stood before a giant well, the entrance to the final and deepest circle of hell. Around the rim of the well stood giants from biblical and mythological lore, frozen from the waist down in the rock. Dante saw none of their betrayal. The lake was divided into 4 regions. Region 1, Caina. Named for the biblical Cain who killed his brother, this area housed those who betrayed their own family. These sinners were frozen in the ice up to their necks, their heads bowed down, allowing their tears to freeze and seal their eyes shut. Region 2, Antenora. Named for the Trojan soldier of all creatures. He had 3 faces on one head. The one in front was a fiery red, a symbol of hatred. The one on the right was a pale yellowish white, symbolizing impotence. The one on the left was black, symbolizing ignorance. These were the perversions of the Holy Trinity's power, wisdom, and love. Beneath each head sprouted a pair of enormous bat-like wings. They were not feathered, but membranous, and they flapped ceaselessly, generating the icy winds that kept the entire lake of Cocytus frozen. Thus, Satan himself was both the ultimate prisoner and the very instrument of his own and others' punishment. He could not speak, but only weep from his 6 eyes, his tears mixing with bloody slaver as each of his 3 mouths was constantly, mechanically chewing on a treacherous sinner. In the center mouth, head first, with his legs kicking out, was Judas Iscariot, who suffered the worst punishment for his treason against the divine majesty of Christ. In the left and right mouths hung Marcus Junius Brutus and Gaius Cassius Longinus, the 2 men who led the